Right. Let's call to order the December 17th Lititz Borough Council Meeting. Mayor?
Is there anyone here from the Warwick Ministerium? I did not think so. I didn't see them. Could we have a moment of silence, please? Amen. Stand, pledge the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, and one nation, under God.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing, I'd just like to share that we did have an executive session on December 10th regarding some personnel matters. Moving on, we have 2 sets of meeting minutes for your review and approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 26th council meeting, and then the budget meeting scheduled on December 10th of 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you very much. First thing on the agenda is a presentation for 256 South Cedar Street.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kim Graybill with Pioneer Management. Good evening. My name is Kim Graybill with Pioneer Management, a consulting firm in Lancaster. Here tonight representing our client, who is Alden Homes, a builder in Lebanon County, who has purchased this infill lot at 256 South Cedar Street, which I have displayed here for you tonight. This existing lot is located on the west side of South Cedar Street. It's south of East Lemon Street, and it's north of East Marion Street, so between Lemon and Marion. Currently vacant, and to put the house and driveway on that, we need a stormwater management plan. That's what we've prepared. Submitted that to staff, and we're in receipt of a review letter dated December 7th from David Miller Associates, with just a few outstanding items left, mostly administrative in nature. I will say that for stormwater management, we're providing an infiltration trench in the rear of the lot. And that collects the roof water from the entire dwelling. It also collects runoff from a patio on the side and a larger patio in the rear. In addition to that, we're providing some soil amendment in the lawn areas as an additional stormwater BMP to obtain some additional volume credits to meet the ordinance requirement. And that brings me to the modifications that we were requesting. We have 2 tonight. The first one being section 403 I-5, existing man-made features within 200 feet of the development site boundary. We're requesting that modification to not have to provide field run survey in a 200-foot area around the site, but we didn't feel it's necessary to go to that extent. We provide features immediately adjacent to the lot with field run survey, and then supplement that with county GIS and state LiDAR topography. So we believe the information we provide is enough to adequately analyze the project. So that's the first modification. The second one is section 302 regarding storage volume, and to provide the required volume control for this lot. It was a challenge to get enough water to the trench in the rear. So we're supplementing the volume control with that soil amendment I mentioned previously across the lot, plus a very minimal credit for the 2 street trees we're proposing out front. The credits I'm taking are in line with guidance provided in the state BMP manual. And I will mention that David Miller is supporting granting both of those modifications. So that in a nutshell is the project. Pretty straightforward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Elijah, anything to add?
No, I just want to ensure that if there are street trees, the language for the review by the Shade Tree Commission is on the plan.
I will make sure that gets on the plan.
Great, thank you.
Scott, anything to add beyond what we have in your letter here? Okay. Council, questions?
I see you have a construction cost of a little over 23,000. Does that plan for any contingencies that you may find during this project?
It includes the normal 10% contingency required by the municipality planning code. That's all.
Just one question about the Shade Tree Commission. Were there comments provided? I think when it came out, we didn't have those yet.
Well, and that's sort of why I'm asking as a question. If it's proposed as a shade tree, then obviously the Shade Tree Commission will have oversight of those trees.
Okay.
And that was my question, Elijah. What specific language would you like to see
Well,
added?
there is default language if it's not in the right of way that
Okay.
essentially if before they're removed, they have that's the out of right of way that they'll agree with homeowners for replacement. If it's just landscaping trees, then there's nothing that the Shade Tree Commission does.
Okay.
And that's, I guess, my question is if it's a shade tree, then the
Okay.
Shade Tree Commission needs to be involved. If it's landscaping trees, then they don't. Because
Okay.
obviously there are many homes in this borough with trees that aren't underneath the Shade Tree Commission's
They're not
purview.
policed.
Right.
Correct.
So these are trees to be planted because there's none currently there.
That's right.
So how do we detail that trees to be planted?
Well, if they are, I'm not familiar with how close are they to the right of way?
I'm not sure. They're outside of the right of way, but probably within a few feet.
Okay, well then they
It's not on the
could,
sheet.
they could essentially go through the same process and get the, I forget the name of the legal document, but get that done,
Done, okay.
recorded, and then they're considered street trees outside the right of way, and then the Shade Tree Commission has jurisdiction.
Diction, okay, because there is no beauty strip at this section of Cedar Street. The
Correct.
sidewalk goes right up to the curb.
Correct.
Okay,
And they've got language in the ordinance.
In the
that
shade
allows
tree
it to be
ordinance,
within
okay.
a certain distance, and that's when they went to the document.
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Elijah, I'd be happy to follow up with you
That would be-
later this week and on the details of that.
That would be great.
language.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Make it-
That sounds good.
Yeah, and if they are being used as a stormwater or best management practice, they should be detailed on the plan, and we need to make sure that those get monitored and maintained over time in order to continue to provide that function.
Understand.
Okay.
Did you have something? Mary, anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for 256 South Cedar Street for a modification of section 403I5 and a modification of section 302 contingent upon the language from the Shade Tree ordinance being added in conjunction with approval from Elijah as detailed in our letter of December 5th, and I believe you referenced your letter was December 7th from DMA.
Is there an updated one?
I have a December 5th letter.
Okay, then we both December 5th letter. Okay, thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right, moving on, we have a list of 7 different resolutions, and I believe Ken is going to take all of them.
Yes. This section is all about the budget for 2025. This year, we started the budget planning in the middle of the year, right around August. We started getting our committees together and working with our groups. We had our first public meeting in November. That was November 12th, where we presented the budget in a work session. So we're able to discuss that. One of the early things that we discovered was just the level of costs that have risen to operate the budget in this year, and that was something we had to wrestle with and work through. The next meeting was public meeting was here at Borough Council. And we, again, had some questions about the budget, and we also approved it to be advertised. Not final, but just to be advertised. That budget went on public display November 27th, and then we had a public Q&A session Tuesday night, December 10th, just last week. And then again, we've had a couple Lititz record articles. We had great public comment. Bev, I think she's here tonight, asked a great question. Dave Carson asked some great questions, and we had some good dialogue. So we really do appreciate that. Y'all helped us answer some areas that hopefully was helpful for the public. So thank you. So tonight we're coming together to approve a budget, and we had a couple minor details that I asked Jerry to take a look at, and so he's done that. Just would like to report to the team.
Sure, thank you, Ken. So one of the details that we are dealing with is a request from the Lititz Police Department to have a bit of reorganizational and structure of some of the positions in the department with some reporting changes. We're going to, those changes and positions are not included in the budget, but we're going to take a look at those during the following year. As you all know, we have a police chief transition leadership going on. And so it's important that we allow our new chief to deal with those kind of changes in the department relative to staffing and the structure of the department. So we thank the police department for letting us know about those plans, but they're not included in this budget. But we want to revisit that during the 2025 year once the police chief is, the new police chief is in place.
Thank you, Jerry. Council, any other comments or suggestions?
All right. Any questions from the public about this specific resolution? None being heard, I'd be looking for a motion.
Okay. I move to approve Resolution 993, the adoption of the 2025 annual Lititz Borough budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Okay, Council and the audience tonight, we have about 5 resolutions that we have to do annually. These are all to establish our tax rates and then our independent auditor and our tax collection. It's a requirement that we have to do each year to renew these resolutions. So some of them you've probably heard before, but they're just changing the date. So Resolution 994, it's recognizing the 2024 independent auditor. And so Council has chosen Brown Plus to serve as our auditor for this year. Any questions of Council? Okay, I move to approve Resolution 994 that adopts the firm Brown Plus as independent auditor to make an independent examination of all accounting records of the Borough of Lititz for 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
The next item is to recognize there's no change in the 2025 real estate tax rate. This will be levied at 3.25 mils. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 995 to levy the same 3.25 mils as the real estate tax for the year 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, the third resolution is Resolution 996, and that's the establishing the earned income tax rate, and that's the same as this year, no change. It's levying 0.5% on the earned income tax. I move to approve Resolution 996 to continue to levy 0.5% on the earned income tax for year 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, the final tax rate is the realty transfer tax rate, and we're making no changes. It'll be 0.5% for 2025. I move to approve Resolution 997 to continue to levy 0.5% realty transfer tax for the year 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
The final is to recognize how taxes will be collected. So that will be with the Lancaster County Tax Collection Bureau for both the real estate tax and the local services tax. Okay. I move to approve Resolution 998 that appoints Lancaster County Tax Collection Bureau to collect the real estate tax and the local service tax for the year 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Chris?
And we have a request to, and I believe this is somewhat of a formality, Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong, that Luther Care has applied for financing through the Lancaster Municipal Authority. And with that request, we are required to approve as a borough where Luther Care does business. They have a facility here. So the resolution reads, a resolution of the Council of the Borough of Lititz approving the financing through the Lancaster Municipal Authority of a certain project for the benefit of Luther Care, a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, designating the president of council or, in his or her absence, any other member of council as the applicable elected representative within the meaning of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended, authorizing such president or any such member of council to take certain actions on behalf of the council as such applicable elected representative, and authorizing other necessary and appropriate action. Any questions from council on
I
this?
have a question about the implications of this from a revenue perspective. This is the first time I've encountered something like this. I'm just wondering
Yes.
how that works.
And my understanding is there really isn't any. This allows Luther Care to secure a loan from the authority and not pay any taxes on that, which results in a lower interest rate. They're not paying taxes on it because the bond purchasers are not having to pay tax on the bond since it's secured through the Lancaster Municipal Authority. Elijah, if I'm at all incorrect, correct me, please.
That's my understanding as well. It's
Yes.
not going to change any tax collection. It's essentially agreeing, and it's Columbia, Lebanon, and Warwick. And
Correct.
Warwick had very similar questions, which is what was supplied to you in packets.
Mhm. Okay, then I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 999.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right, that is it with the resolutions. So moving on to agenda item number 3, we have one agreement.
Yeah, sure, Steve. We have some excitement here. I think we're entering phase 3 of the skate park construction. So tonight we have the Cocalico Alternative Sports Association, otherwise known as CASA, C-A-S-A, and Lititz Borough entering into an agreement here. The purpose of this project is to fund a major renovation of the skate park located behind Lititz Springs swimming pool. CASA's role is they're recognized as a 501c3 organization, and they're responsible for raising the funds to support this renovation. The borough's contribution is $20,000, and it will be used solely for the construction or the renovation of this skateboard park. So I think that's a neat development that's been going on in our skateboard park, and we'll gladly take any questions.
You said third phase,
Yes.
so we think, you and I talked about this a little bit, 5 phases maybe, potentially 6?
It all depends on how the donations come in. They've been very successful with Roars. It's been donating all the concrete. But again, it depends on, it's actually CASA, the County Skate Park Association, which is not a 501c3, and Roars doing donations, and then the skate park contractor. So there's a few partners that are working together to ensure this donation kind of goes as far as possible. I think it would be probably 6 if no one else contributes. But if there's other funding sources they get, then it can be shorter.
And that's on them to reach out.
they've been doing it, they've been promoting it, and they've been getting great feedback from people that are actually coming here from elsewhere in the county even to use it.
Done that for the previous.
Okay.
So I know from what I've heard, local skaters are really enjoying it, but every time I've been out, it's someone from Reading or somewhere else that is also like, hey, this is great what you have here, which is always kind of surprising to me. So
Grappling to skate.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, I just think this is a commitment the borough makes to our community in terms of recreation. It's one of the things that our residents do appreciate. And so this is a way we can contribute to that ongoing effort to make this place a nice place to live.
It's very heavily used. I don't skate, but I'm often at the basketball court or the softball field with both sides of that. And every time I've been at either of those locations, somebody's there. I should say somebody, several people.
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Agreement 568, funding $20,000 for the skate park renovation.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right. That is it with resolutions and agreements. We are moving on to the council members forum. So first on the docket, Ken.
Yes, wastewater services, Doug Zook is here. Doug, welcome.
Thank you. Short one tonight. So in November, we came in $39,320 under budget for the month, and we are currently $17,082 over for the year. Wastewater plant flow was down 0.4% to 2.3 million gallons a day in November. Water plant daily average flow was 1.66, which is a million gallons a day, which is up 4.7% from October. We had 2 emergency callouts at the wastewater plant for high tank levels, which was just a matter of transferring some liquid to other tanks. Capital projects, PS1 wet well gate, we're still awaiting the contractor to give us a date for when that's going to be completed. NIR pump rebuild is currently in progress, and tank mixer is on order. Water plant, the well 3 pump still hasn't been repaired. We did get a date from PP&L of January 20th so that they can turn the power off to the line that runs over it, so we can get that fixed. So we're hoping by the end of January to have well 3 back up. And we're currently fully staffed. I don't have anything else unless anybody has questions on my report.
For the maintenance cost that we had for the filter valve actuator and the 8-inch valve, was those part of our regular maintenance expenses?
For which?
For the new filter valve actuator and the 8-inch check valve.
The 8-inch check valve was, I don't know, I'd have to look and see exactly where that was from, but the project was completed. That was installed.
Okay.
I believe that was under maintenance, but I can check for you.
Any other questions? Doug, thank you. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming out tonight. So, Steve, I'd like to make a motion to approve the November Infomark report for the Lititz Borough water treatment and wastewater facilities.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right. Moving on to item B, Tanea, streets and traffic.
Okay. We've got one activity permit. They're way ahead of the game. This is the Italian Festival of Lititz. Their day of activity is going to be Saturday, September 13th, 2025. It's going to running time from 10 to 5 p.m. It's going to be located in the Lititz Springs Park in the VFW parking lot. They're going to be paying for bagged meters, and they expect about 15 to 20,000 people to attend. Anybody have any questions about that? All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Italian Festival on Saturday, September 13th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, and the other issue we want to touch on is the Maple Street one-way. So council knows, as you know, Lititz Springs Park is going to be closing Park Lane shortly after the new year. As a result, the borough's anticipating an increase in both morning and afternoon traffic. So to address this, the borough asked David Miller Association to assess the potential impact on Maple Street. And you can pull that, yeah, perfect. They also consulted with our borough traffic engineer, Grove Miller Engineering, and based on their analysis, they recommend converting Maple Street to one-way traffic between South Spruce Street and South Walnut Street. So where the red arrow is, there you go. He's circling. So that area is going to be, they suggest it to be one-way traffic.
It's already one way from, I forget what that street is that's halfway through there, that section.
Right, Walnut.
It's that one block section.
And that's why one other thing I wanted to clarify. So Maple Lane is an alley, and that's both ways, or that's only one way? Maple Lane, the little
Both.
alley.
Both ways.
Okay. So in response, the borough sent letters to residents. Chief personally delivered them, seeking feedback of the proposed change. So to date, we received one email response opposing, and I wanted to see if the council has questions before we give it to the public. Thoughts?
I think the only thing, again, I'd be curious from any of the residents that would be affected, probably are anybody that's fronting Maple Street in that block. Obviously, it would alter the way they get to, I think there's actually some little alley that goes east-west, like halfway through Maple, kind of right where Maple is. So it's just a matter of, I don't know how people park there, if they park on the street or if they're getting to garages off that back alley. I was just trying to think of how people would be affected as they are getting home versus the way they've been getting.
Right, because, I mean, a lot of it, you'd have to go, if they're coming down Spruce, they'd have to go over Orange, which is very,
Yeah, like if I'm, say, coming from the west, say I'm coming from Manheim, I'd have to go Orange,
right.
down Spruce, down Maple. I'm sorry, down Maple, then down Maple Street, down to Maple Lane to get to park behind my.
Right.
So that would be, again, if I were a resident area, that would be a question, but I don't know how people park there. Or even if there are some rear facing garages, I know that face Orange there. I know somebody that lives in that block facing Orange.
Tanea, can you share any more about the concerns that were raised by the one resident that we did hear from? And
Mainly, it's here.
As you're looking that up, I think the other thing too, it doesn't eliminate any on-street parking, correct? Same, because I think it's
Correct.
parking on both sides right now, but it's just opposite direction.
Just not would like to look at for themselves, their family, utilizing a way to get around this. It's just going to be really inconvenient for them, basically. And if it must be this way and the one-way road, Maple Street turns into one-way traffic, it also suggested making Maple Street a one-way for certain times during the day, where you can't make right-hand turns onto Maple Street off of the side streets. But I'm not sure if that would be hard to enforce, signage, things like that.
Yeah, I've seen signage.
I was agreeing with you about that.
Yeah.
I've seen that in like larger cities, but I'm trying to think of how.
And I can see how if it's a resident who typically takes Walnut Street to get to Maple Street, that it's going to be a little bit inconvenient to have to turn right onto Orange Street and then left onto Spruce Street and then left onto Maple Street. It's a couple of extra turns, and I can see that, but
We're
I think
definitely
it's
going to look in,
necessary.
right. We're going to look into PennDOT, the Orange Street intersection lights and the square and so forth too,
Well, yeah, we can modify the timing, but we're
Right,
not
the
going to be able to modify the timing until the park closure goes into effect and we start having a better, idea of what the traffic flows will be.
But that's what we're looking at with Grove and
Mhm.
EMA is looking at, correct?
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait until that's in place, and then, obviously I'll be out talking with Mrs. Hess and getting her feedback as
I know that's getting slightly off topic with this, but Scott, are they looking at the pre and post changes? I mean, I agree we can't make changes afterwards, but I'm really anxious to hear how the traffic changes before the park changes their traffic flow and after.
we have.
I think we have some pretty accurate current data on this section with all of the changes in timing that we've been doing with the addition of the left turn lane on eastbound Orange and some of the other things. So I think we have a pretty good count on what's going on right now. But to see what you can anticipate, I guess, somewhat anecdotally what's going to happen with this because of the changes in the traffic through the park. But we'll be able to do new counts once this is in place. You're in the middle of back to school in the spring, and you can figure out what's actually happening at Orange. The issue we have is that there's just so many cars going through that Orange and Broad and the Main and Broad intersection, and we've tweaked timings and added a turn lane and tried to do everything we can to keep that moving. I know we've talked a lot about that Orange and Spruce intersection and what can be done with that. There's a lot of challenges there because of how close it is to the Broad Street intersection and with traffic backing up during those two peak times, really, in the morning and
That's what
afternoon.
I'm anxious to see. I mean, it's
Related to school.
right now at 3:10.
Yeah.
It's backed up all the way to the tennis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm usually backed up in that parking lot trying to get out with my daughter, even down the lane to get on.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm anxious to see.
It'll be
how that
interesting to see what people do to find other relief valves. That's typically what you commonly see. If there's a problem at one spot, people will find other ways around. I mean, I know from my experience dropping kids off at the high school, I don't go up Orange. You go and you work your way south and then do the whole big loop around.
But what a lot of people do now, if you're there, they go through the park.
They go
I'm
through the
at-
park. Yeah. Are they going to start going the other way? Or I'm often behind a whole train of people that are going south and then they end up going up Locust to go north and head up on the north side of town just to avoid all of that. So we'll be able to, again, clearly see once we get on the other side of this, what those are. But again, those are going to be like minor timing tweaks that we're going to be able to do because what happens. I don't know if you saw this fall, we had a little bit of a hiccup with the timing on the lights on Broad, and it was backed up like to Wise because of a tiny change on those lights. So small changes are all, and we always say you have a minute, you can only divide it up so many ways. We can't add more time to a minute to make more time for the intersection. So.
All right. Well, I know that was a little sidetracked from specific, but it's all intertwined.
Thanks, Scott.
Is there a crossing guard at Spruce and Orange? There is not. There has been in the past, though, hasn't there? Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up, or Scott, I guess you brought up the intersection there with Spruce and Orange. We had just submitted for PennDOT to look at that, I think, and they said that the data didn't support doing any more study of that, but
And we did
I
a
do-
change 2 years ago. Isn't that when you painted, some of that yellow just for sight lines? I remember.
And then we actually asked PennDOT to look into it after that was done, and they proposed no changes because the crash history wasn't high enough.
Yeah, I watch every day. I mean, people keep inching out of there to try to cut. It's just hard to see.
yeah.
Chief, where's the next crossing guard then going west from Broad Street? If there's not one at Spruce Street, where? It is, okay.
Yeah, they have somebody.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll have somebody just further off from where the plan is right now.
okay. January 1,
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Today, I believe your committee is working on some kind of public relations piece in terms letting people know about the changes and what to expect, in addition to letting the students or the parents know at the high school?
I think the park took care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be the park's responsibility.
Yeah.
Our responsibility will be the communication about this. Are there any residents here
You know,
tonight?
once we're through council questions, anybody, any other questions today? Are any of the residents in that block here tonight? If any other residents have questions or comments on this topic?
Anything online, Rob?
No.
Thank you.
So this will be recorded as a change in the ordinance that you just updated, correct?
Yeah, it'll need to be done as an ordinance amendment. So that would have to be, it'll be several months, obviously. You could vote to advertise the ordinance change. The ordinance is essentially a one line going into the one that was updated previous that would be turning this to one way. It actually already exists. It's just making it one way the whole way instead of one way from Walnut West. That would need to be advertised, and then it could be acted on at the meeting after advertisement.
Okay. Just trying to understand the process, so if we do receive more concerns or find any other issues, we've got a couple of months to keep working on this.
Anaya, did you need anything else from us tonight?
Are we comfortable with moving forward to make a motion to advertise? All
Any
right.
comments?
All right. I'd like to make a motion to advertise the Maple Street ordinance the one-way ordinance.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right, anything else, Anaya?
Nope.
I have a quick question for streets if I can. Whatever happened with the eliminating parking on
Layman.
Layman Street? Is that,
Has that taken place?
I believe last I talked with Andy, they were looking at getting the signage in place and then the
Right.
paint. That was several months ago. I don't know if I haven't been out there to see if it's been implemented yet. Do you know, Rob?
Have you guys been over there? Have you seen it?
Okay.
Okay.
okay. So no problems that we're aware of with that change there. Okay, thank you.
All right. If nothing else, Tanea, Ken, finances, the bills.
Yeah, finance has two items of business. One is on your packet there and reviewing the financial statement. You'll see that the revenue for the year is pretty much in. If you look at expenses, they are not in. Today's the 17th, and we're still expecting some rather large invoices to come in before the end of the year. Any questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 2024 financial report and pay all invoices.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Steve, we had a second item of business under finance, and during our Q&A, we had a great question from Dave Carson about how the year end and the beginning next year sums didn't add. So we had a finance meeting with Rob's assistants, and we have some information to share tonight, and Rob, I think, has some material to present so that everybody can hear how those numbers will look.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just somebody just joined, so I wanted to make sure I got them. So yes, there is the numbers between the 2023 actual and the 2024 beginning balance were not the same, and they should be. The reason for that is the 2023 I used modified accrual accounting, and for the 2024 I used the budgetary basis for accounting. So that's why those two numbers were different. Moving forward, there's a couple options we could have. Probably the best one would be to add a line item in that summary that would say change in accrual to make up that difference between the two numbers. And that's and I did confirm with both Waltz and Brown Plus, our auditors, on that as well.
Thank you, Rob. Dave? Okay.
That is an option too. For those of you who didn't hear, Dave said just to change the basis, and that is an option. There was some difference of opinions there on how we should, which way we should go on that for the budget. So we can make it match. It should match. How we dial in on that is yet to be determined. I want to get down in the weeds with those guys.
Let's make a decision and we'll just do the same process each year. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rob, for doing that. Steve, that's all I have.
Okay. Jerry, moving on to personnel, you've got 6 items here.
Yes, thank you, Steve. My first item has to do with the hiring of full-time administrative assistants for the police department. So the police department has been functioning with a one full-time and 1 3/4 time administrative assistant for some time. In May of 2024, a 3/4 time position became available. Person left, and a new 3/4 time assistant was hired, with the understanding that that position would move to full-time in 2025. The full-time position has been approved in the 2025 budget, so we're not dealing with financial issues here. The chief has provided me with the job duties of the assistants, noting that there continues to be additional administrative duties performed by our administrative assistants in the police department. One of the duties of the assistants will be to manage the police department's accreditation process. There are very numerous tasks associated with accreditation. And as you know, accreditation is one of the distinguishing characteristics of our Lititz Borough Police Department. So this is an important duty that this person will provide. As you also know, the department will be experiencing a leadership change in 2025, and having 2 full-time assistants will enable this transition to be a smooth process. So with that in mind, I am recommending that the administrative assistant position, now filled by Mindy Edie, become a full-time position effective January 1st, 2025.
Got a motion?
That's a
Second.
motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted tonight to make a number of appointments and reappointments to our various board committees and commissions. I've been privileged over these past number of months to have a lot of interest in these positions. One of the goals of the Personnel Committee was to get more people engaged in the process to be appointed to these committees, and that has taken place. In fact, I have 5 or 6 individuals who volunteered that I do not have any positions for right now. So I'm in the process of thinking creatively about how to keep those people engaged, and I've been in contact with those as well. So I am happy tonight to make a number of recommendations. The first one, I am recommending Jeffrey Chambers for a position on the Lititz Borough Authority. Jeffrey is a resident of the borough, and I've had an interview with Jeffrey to discuss his interest in continuing on the authority. As an architect, he brings an understanding about regulations, procurement, and state-of-the-art environmental designs. He especially has encouraged the authority to think ahead and purchase equipment that may be needed to be replaced. So capital improvements are important to him. The authority chair highly recommends Jeff to continue to serve on the authority. Jeff enjoys his responsibilities as an authority member and considers authority membership a way to give back to the community. I don't think he's here tonight. So therefore, I'm making a motion to reappoint Jeffrey Chambers as a member of the Lititz Borough Authority for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Elijah, I was going to ask, Mr. Chambers was on something else previously,
I'm not aware
at
of.
least in my time, and I just, after you mentioned he's an architect, I remember him. I'm trying to remember what he was involved in before.
It was before my time because he's always been on the authority while I've been here.
It's I'm just impressed with the commitment and the expertise that these people bring to the authority. You would know that
Yeah.
from your perspective, Ken, yeah. Secondly, I am recommending Charity Hayne to membership on the Lititz Borough Zoning Hearing Board. Charity has a landscaping degree from Penn State, and he's a landscape architect working with David Miller Architects with a focus on stormwater and MS4 projects. Charity has been serving on the zoning board for the past 5 years and is excited to continue to share her expertise, serve the Lititz community. She previously served on the Historical Advisory Committee. She's supportive of the zoning board's desire to maintain the intent of the various zoning ordinances while paying attention to how zoning can address the housing, transportation, and parking challenges of the borough. So I'm making a motion to reappoint Charity Hayne to the Lititz Borough Zoning Hearing Board for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Thirdly, I'm recommending Donna Carson to membership on the Lititz Borough Historical Authority Committee. Donna has served in various cities, has lived in various cities, including living in New York in a highly historical district in the city, in New York City. She has a degree in marketing and has spent considerable time volunteering for a variety of causes. She and her husband moved to Lititz a number of years ago because of its unique history and small town features. Donna served on the committee for 2 years and has a passion to preserve the historic nature of our borough while supporting economic development for the borough. She wants to continue to give back to the community she loves and looks forward to continuing on the committee. So I'm making a motion to reappoint Donna Carson to the Lititz Borough Historical Authority Advisory Committee for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Next, I'm recommending Jessica Kiltlick, is that how you're pronounced? Kiltlick, sorry, to membership on the Lititz Borough Planning Commission. Jessica is a graduate from Cornell with an engineering degree and currently is employed with TPI Composites, a wind turbine blade design company. During our interview, she described her duties as a design engineer with project management responsibilities and is a person who likes to get things done. She's a critical thinker and has a passion for finding creative solutions to complex challenges. She enjoys Lititz community and has the enthusiasm, energy, and time to serve on the Planning Commission. Therefore, I'm making a motion to appoint Jessica Kiljack to the Planning Commission as an alternate for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2025. And I think Jessica is here, so do you want to stand, please? Thank you for coming and being a part of this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
And I'm sorry again. Lastly, I have another one to appoint. I'm recommending Thomas Hayne to membership on the Lititz Borough Historical Advisory Committee. Tom is a retired police officer in the Cornell Lebanon School District and served on the Planning Commission in South Lebanon Township. He moved to Lititz Borough several years ago and wants the opportunity to serve the community. He is familiar with zoning requirements, has respect for the historical nature of our community and the need to preserve the unique historical character of the borough. Therefore, I'm recommending a motion to appoint Thomas Hayne to the Lititz Borough Historical Area Authority Committee Advisory Committee for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Tom is here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
This is the kind of commitment we have from volunteers who want to come to council meetings and get involved. So thanks to all the people who have volunteered and all those who are waiting to have assignments.
Let me finish with the motion here. Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing. Motion approved.
Got too excited about that.
All right.
And I just want to, just one other update. Most people know that we are working through a leadership transition in the police department. We have initiated a process which has included getting feedback from the community about the goal, the characteristics, skills, and experience that we need in our next police chief. I received those from those questionnaires. I've developed themes that we use to create a profile, which includes those specific skills and characteristics and experience we need for the chief. We have now advertised that position within our police chief department. We are in the process of collecting resumes, and we will be interviewing candidates the week of January 6th. So we are on target to meet our timeline for that position. So I just wanted to update the public and the council on that process. I think that's all I have, Steve.
Okay. Moving on, Chris with planning,
No report tonight.
Mary zoning,
No report.
Ken, anything further with building and grounds?
No report.
Jerry, benefits and insurance.
I have no report as well.
Mary, I believe you have some regional plan items, right?
We do, thank you. So we are gearing up for implementation of Strengthening Community 2030, the region's comprehensive plan update. Most recently, our work has been around recruiting an implementation coordinating committee. Lititz Borough will have 5 representatives. Warwick Township will also have 5 representatives. And I think Elizabeth Township is
They should have 5, but I haven't seen the list yet.
working towards 5 as well. So the roles and responsibilities of the, what the council expects of the members will be that they'll be the council's representatives on the committee representing the interest of stakeholders in Lititz and guiding implementation of the comp plan. Some of the first work that the committee will be doing is really taking the comprehensive plan and developing an implementation strategy from it. Just to get a little bit more clarity about what we need to accomplish, how we're going to accomplish it, what our goals and metrics are for tracking our progress, helping us identify new leaders in the community and new voices and perspectives, which is a big goal of ours and of the plans to bring more people to the table, really try to extend the table and get some new energy in. We've got a lot of changeover, as we've talked about before, in the community, both here in Lititz as well as in Warwick Township. The committee will be in place for 5 years that's the term of the comprehensive plan. So I have, over the last couple of months, identified some key people in our community that I believe will be key people to serve in this role. So tonight I offer to you 5 names, including my own, as nominees for the RIC pick. Is that what it is? Regional.
if you want,
that was
Mary,
an acronym that was tossed around as we were talking about this.
What does RIC stand for, Mary? Stand for, Mary?
Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. I am not saying that that's what it's going to be, but we were having fun with that when somebody threw that term out. So, okay, so the names that I want to offer for you tonight, and thank you for calling me on that.
I had to.
By the way, everybody's laughing now and getting some good energy going in the room. The first person I'd like to put forth is Kyle Stauffer, Chair of the Planning Commission. And we would like to also have Todd Dickinson identified as an alternate for Kyle. Both are on the Planning Commission now. The second seat, recommending Michelle Karen, who is here with us tonight. I don't have the whole bio that Jerry has, but what I can tell you is that Karen traveled with the circus around the world, so she is a perfect person for this seat. She specialized in lighting. She lives here in the community and is currently serving as president of the Warwick Community Chest. Karen has a planner's mind. Michelle has a planner's mind, and will be a great asset on this team. Next, I'd like to offer Jane Smith. Jane is sitting next to Michelle. Jane Smith is an employee of Durkin Edson. She specializes in marketing and communications. She is on the Venture Lititz board, resident of Lititz. Great thoughts on walkability, downtowns, housing, great interest in housing. So Jane will be a great addition to this committee as well. Next, I'd like to nominate Laurel Etter Longnecker, another resident of Lititz Borough, employee of Land Studies, specializing in sustainability. She and her husband also are rental property owners, so they'll be able to bring some perspectives from their experience with rental properties. And they're also a young family raising their kids here in Lititz Borough. So, and then the fifth seat would be myself, Mary Gaddis. And I want to just recognize Kyle and Laurel are online. I don't know if you're able to allow them to share their screens so that they can wave and say hello. If not, it's not a problem. I'll leave that. Or the, okay. Okay. So that is it. We intend to kick off with a first meeting at the end of January and then begin diving in with some workshops to really do the meat of the work. So I'm really excited about the team and ask for your approval of the nominees presented.
Elijah, is an actual motion necessary for this?
I think each of the municipalities are doing it. I would look at it as just as any other committee appointment.
Okay.
If that is a motion, Mary, I will second it.
That's my motion. Thank
That's
you.
seconded.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Does anybody want to say anything? You don't need to. Oh, Ron Rhoda in the back.
Come on up, Ron. Come up to the mic
And
on this, specifically on this topic, right?
while he's coming, do we know what the status of the appointments for the other municipalities are?
As I said with Elizabeth, I don't know who the candidates are. We just spoke with Brian and he had 4 out of the 5 this morning, but I don't know that they've been appointed.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ron. State your
Mary,
name.
common sense property tax reform. Has that been talked about, number one? And number two, what about the survey for the population in Lititz? It just seems like there's more than 55 years and up people around here, more than kids. And I'm just curious to know, what are we supposed to do about that? Homes, $400,000. Kids they can't pay for that. I'm just throwing things out aloud. So is the committee going to be looking at that kind of thing? That's my question. Thanks, Steve.
Ron, just for the record, just state your name.
Oh, it's Ron Rhoda, 114 East 6th Street.
Thank you.
So Strengthening Community 2030 is online, and there is quite a bit in there about the housing situation. One of the 5 sessions that was held during the development of the plan included presentations by a number of agencies and organizations that work here in the county on housing. So we have some data that we'll be working from. Just last week, Elijah and I attended an affordable housing deliberative workshop hosted by the High Foundation with Hourglass and High Foundation and Hourglass. Great day of talking with other municipal leaders about the challenges, hearing from speakers on the challenges and also the successes that some other communities have had in building more housing. So the challenge that we have with the comprehensive plan as it exists right now is it really does not offer any concrete actions to be taken. What it calls us to do is to have community conversations about housing. So one of our first jobs as a committee will really be to figure out how do we dive into this. We do have some actions underway right now. We've gotten housing data from the county that tells us what type of housing stock we have. We're comparing that against our own data here. We do have a rental inspection program, as some of you know. So we're looking to kind of ground truth and QA/QC that data so that we have a good picture of what we have here. One of the things that we know needs to happen is we need to be providing more of a range of housing types. There's a lot of housing, as you said, that's being built up in the higher ranges, larger housing. There's a big gap in what they call the missing middle. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at. I'll also call your attention to Planning Commission is already having conversations about this. They've had 3 meetings so far, looking at rezoning tracks within the borough in order to increase housing, the flexibility around the types of housing that can be built on vacant lots that exist within the borough. So the Planning Commission is taking a good hard look at that. They're not just adopting a map amendment. They're looking at the text in the zoning ordinance to see, are we going to get what we really want in the community? So I encourage whoever's interested in this topic to attend the next Planning Commission meeting. Really interesting discussions happening there. They're being very thoughtful about it. So that's one place, but yes, that is a key issue. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Anything else, Mary? All right. Moving on to the reports. We have got David Miller's report here. Question for Scott or anything to add, Scott?
I do have a question. You could just clarify what the Lititz Springs Storage Project is and how Lititz Borough's involved, I guess.
The borough would be involved in reviewing and approving the second phase of that project.
So
We're
tell me
sort
what
of an update to the overall project was approved, but if you've gone out by that project, the front section isn't built, and then one back again isn't built. They built 2 of the 4 buildings, and they're coming back through now with a new plan to revise the scope of 2 of the buildings to make them taller. Is that?
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
it's a new owner. This
Yeah.
plan has essentially been in development since about 2016. The old owner did not progress as quickly as they thought they would. And in fact, this was when we rezoned the area around the Wilbur and kind of through town from industrial to Lititz from revitalization district. This is one of the parcels we actually couldn't because it was already in the process. They were approved during COVID. They built 2 of the buildings and then sold it at the end of last year, about a year ago. So this was kind of an independent storage unit owner, and it got purchased by a larger corporation that specializes in this.
Is that the place that took over all the Little League fields?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Part of it, yeah.
yeah,
okay.
part of it.
Okay, I know what you mean now.
So they are proposing to keep the ones that are already constructed at 2 stories. They would like to build the ones that they haven't been constructed to 4 stories, which is allowable underneath the industrial zoning. The concern with that is there are screening requirements in the zoning ordinance that requires industrial buildings to be screened from adjacent residential uses. It doesn't say how far away, it doesn't say how tall those residential uses are. It says they must be screened from residential uses. And there is no possible way vegetative buffers are going to screen a 4-story storage unit building. So that means that they have to be screened architecturally, which means make them look like essentially apartment buildings. And from what they've sent so far, they're going kind of the right direction. But in Lori and I's review, it's still not feasible. And looking at it, you could still be in a backyard and be seeing essentially a blank industrial or blank storage wall. So from Planning Commission has essentially had a few sketch reviews for it, but I would even say that it's not really been accepted at this point because Planning Commission can't really accept plans that either don't have zoning relief or aren't proposing ways to comply with the zoning ordinance. And what was sent at Planning Commission earlier this month was about, I would say, 80% in compliance, but there were still some elevations. And Lori's feedback to them was that she would need basically profile views of the vegetation and the architecture to show what was, so that they could demonstrate that within 5 years, which is the requirement of the ordinance, that it was screened from the residential properties. The big question is the Pleasant View apartments are maybe about 20 feet away from building 1, and they have 4 stories. How you can screen with any kind of thing, if you're looking down from a 4-story building, has not been adequately addressed. But I would imagine that it probably is full architectural screening, at least on that side.
I know it's a residential use, but the different zoning that those apartments are in than the residents on front, correct?
Correct, but the ordinance doesn't differentiate between zoning districts. It says from a residential use to industrial or from a residential use to a denser residential use needs to be screened.
One question in general, just because I remember I was on the planning commission when this thing came through like forever ago. They're still following the form-based code that's pulled all the way forward. I remember that was
The front building would be, and the architecture on the front, there could be some tweaks to it, but I think it looks like an industrial-ish building that's pulled to the front.
Yeah, I remember it was pulled forward, but it was to look more, have the similar street frontage as the rest of the things there, but hiding the, I'll say, the typical storage units out back.
And it does, and it will, although the driveway allows you to see back into it.
I remember we couldn't get around that, but there was something, even that original thing about the look, what that street.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We were also helping the new property manager to understand some of the property maintenance things that they need to do. There was buffering that was supposed to be on the south side of the property, buffering this from the apartments.
Yeah.
There's sort of mirrored buffers there. The one half that Oak Trees project has was in shape and was improper. Theirs was mostly dead, and the weeds were taller than the plants, and there was a lot of stuff going on there. So we went out and we met with them and walked through. I was out, I think, 3 times already. I was out last week. They've made a lot of progress, headed in the right direction of getting sort of maybe undoing some of the lack of maintenance that the previous owner had going on. The north side buffer is in not very good shape either, but they're going to be installing a fence. There's a minor subdivision that goes along with this to clean up a property line on the north side. So they're going to be doing a lot of work. You'll probably see in the spring on the north side to help buffer those properties with this, whether it's a green or architectural buffer with the new buildings too. So there's a lot of ongoing work out there, but there was a lot of education of the new owners of what needs to be seen out there to move forward. So.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Any other questions for Scott? Okay, moving on to reports from the mayor and the chief. Start with you, Mayor. You got anything?
Yeah, just one thing. The first Friday in December, there was a Christmas tree lighting ceremony down at the park. It was well attended, and everyone had a good time, and it was a very nice community experience. That's it.
Thank you. Chief, I've got your report here. Anybody questions for Chief? No questions. Okay, moving on to the managing director's reports. We have both Rob and Elijah's. Elijah, we'll start with you. Anything you want to add?
Just an update to Runabout Line. Norfolk Southern's working on the estimate for us. They did say it would go up from what it was 4 years ago, which we've already sort of anticipated. The question is how much, and I still don't have that as of yet. So, any questions on anything else?
Questions, Rob? Anything to add?
Excuse me, yes. For Andy, he wanted to let everybody know that the lease season is officially done tomorrow. He's very
Our
excited.
favorite time of the year.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
he thinks the guys had a great year overall, and the town looks great right now. So he's really proud of everything. Just a few things to call off on a report. For the lead service line inventory, we already have about over 140 responses, which we're really happy about. And also included in your packets, I think it was last week, was the final report on the water and sewer rate study that we did this year. So there's a lot of great information in there, and if you haven't read it, I encourage you to take some time and look at it. A lot of good info. That's all I have.
One question just on the leaf season. So if somebody suddenly piles up a pile of leaves out in the street tomorrow, and we obviously can't have that clogging storm, how do we handle that?
Well, yeah, you'll get a letter. Yeah.
I think we might have a resident that got a letter.
Yeah. We'll send you a letter. We'll ask you to get it cleaned up. But tomorrow, Andy's still cleaning up tomorrow. That'll be the last day they're going to do their rounds. We asked everybody to put their leaves out by Sunday. But yes, we'll start with a letter and then go from there.
Okay. All right. Did you want to speak specifically on that, or are you here for another? Okay. Okay. I was like, yeah. Okay. I'll admit, I didn't know it was still going on. I'd seen piles, and I was like, oh no, are we going to have these piles all winter? Okay. All right. No new business, no unfinished business, no other business. I often wonder why we have those multiple items on there, but I don't think I've ever had anything on there in my years.
We can always take them off if you'd like.
Let's take them off.
Okay.
I would like
sounds
to
good.
think if there's any new unfinished or other, they're covered up above. All right, moving on to the public comment section. Anybody comments, questions on anything not covered on the agenda items previously noted? Come on up, David.
So Dave Carson, 220 East 6th Street. I'll keep this really sweet and short. I want to thank Ken for his thoughtfulness, diligence, and information he provided with the budget process. It was very helpful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I second that.
Yeah, really good job, Ken. Takes a lot of time. Any other public comments, questions? Anybody in the room before I ask online, or Rob, if you can start checking online as I'm looking up? Right. There are no further public comments. One last thing.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you.